Hello and welcome. Oh no, that's the wrong screen. That's the right screen. Technical wonders. I mean, I managed to go through last night with 10 guests without a single hiccup, and I can't manage to put an intro screen on correctly today. So there you go. There's my mind. It's completely frazzled, it's fair to say today. As I look a little bit smarter because I've been doing work. Done my first ever player interview over Zoom today. The interview will be out tomorrow. It's not Arsenal focus. It's for my job 101. And I had a chat with Udinese's Norwegian midfielder, Martin Palumbo, and that's going to be out tomorrow as an article in the evening, I imagine, on 101 Great Goals. So make sure you check it out. But today we are focused on Arsenal. We're going to look back at the transfer deadline day. I'm well aware that we are recording this an hour before Arsenal play Wolves. I'm going to try to avoid talking about that as much as possible. I know there's lineup news, I know there's this, but the people that watch this back in the evening after the game is finished, it would mean nothing to them. So no, we're not going to do that. We're going to focus on Arsenal. We're going to focus on deadline day, and we're going to get the chat rolling for the next 30 minutes or so. First things first, though, as always, our Let's Talk Arsenal shows are sponsored by Football Prizes. And it's a good one this week. It is a hell of a lot of prize in one prize. This week's prize, which of course will be drawn the winner of on Friday at 8:30 over on Football Prizes' Facebook page, is the Arsenal 1971 double winners signed and framed shirt by nine players. It's an unbelievably good prize when you think about the context of all of the people that have signed it. You've got Sammy Nelson, Bob McNabb, Frank McClintock, Bob Wilson, Peter Marinello, John Samuels, Pat Rice, as well as Charlie George and Eddie Kelly have all signed this. So if you would like to be in with a chance of winning a signed double winning 1971 Arsenal shirt, the link is in the description. Go enter. Members, expert members, TGT ambassadors, I'll be putting up a post in the members channel a little bit later on where you can reply to get your number to earn your free ticket. So that is the plan. It is a shortened show today. It is not the usual hour because, as Ray asked there, I will be on with Hugh a little bit later on this evening to talk through the Arsenal game with Wolves, of which I'm excited about, obviously. But that is next. That is what is focused on. But what I want to focus on now is I want to focus on Shkodran Mustafi very quickly. You may have seen my tweets this morning, and I want to know your thoughts. I want to know what you think about this. Am I doing a classic Canton and reading too much into this? But it's something to talk about, and I want to talk about it. Shkodran Mustafi left Arsenal yesterday for Schalke, which was a good move for both parties because Mustafi wants to play. He's still late 20s. He's not even 30. He's not, I don't think even close to 30. He's still got 2 years before he's 30, I think. And he needed to go and play, and Arsenal didn't necessarily need to have him on the books because he was going to be going in the summer. He's been here since 2016. He's won an FA Cup or two. And I look at his time at Arsenal, which has been filled with criticism and mistakes, and I get that. And I get that there has been a hell of a lot of abuse leveled at him from people that I would not consider Arsenal fans. If you have ever tweeted any player, any form of abuse, and just slagging them off, etc., it's just not very supporter-like, is it? And I feel like the silent majority, or maybe the silent minority, who knows at this stage, who haven't, I would hope it's a majority that haven't done that, would still have supported Mustafi during the times that he played, still chanted Arsenal's chants when he was playing on the pitch, and got behind him when he was on the pitch. The majority of us Arsenal fans have. And nothing. nothing on his socials. Obviously, we are recording at 5 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon. So, I mean, I'm just going to double check now that he hasn't completely mugged me off with like a goodbye message or anything like that. But I'm pretty sure that there's been nothing regarding his leaving. I'm looking. No, he said goodbye to Mesut Ozil when he left, but he didn't say goodbye to Arsenal when he left, the club that has spent given him untold chances over the last 4 years and allowed him to try and redeem himself time after time. And There's just something I don't know what it is. There's just something I just can't quite get around about that. Yeah, I want to get your thoughts in the chat. Am I being silly? Am I overreacting? Am I being a fool? Let me know. Am I acting like a little sensitive child that should and wants just give me attention, Mustafi? Say goodbye to me, please. Matt Thornton says, it is what it is, mate. Can't really complain with the amount of abuse he gets from the fans. You just need to read the replies to confirmation tweet. Started well, but was horrific in the end. Javier says, Mustafi had ups and downs in his career. Perhaps he's had unfair criticism. Gary says, surprising he didn't play in an FA Cup final, isn't it? I mean, he was injured for the last one, but his performances at the end of last season were really good, besides the Spurs game. But at the end of last season, his performances helped us get to that FA Cup final. So I am, and you have to think, the amount of people that were concerned that he was not going to be available and that Rob Holding was going to be between our fullbacks for that final there was a lot of people that were concerned about that. And that goes to show how kind of, in a way, he redeemed some of the mistakes, nowhere near all of them, of course, but he still did very well towards the end of his career under Arteta specifically. And he went on that unbeaten run at the start of his time at Arsenal with Koscielny. But as we do like to get a little bit social on the channel and talk about kind of the social things, he received a hell of a lot of abuse, a ridiculous amount of abuse, an embarrassing amount of abuse. Granit Xhaka and Mustafi specifically have had a lot of abuse from children on the whole. Mainly it is just children that are doing it and that are not old enough. But unfortunately, there are, amongst those children, interspersed some immature adults that also send abuse to players because they think they can get away with it because they have anonymity, and they're cowards that hide behind usually a picture of another player, sometimes even Mustafi himself. We can criticise all day long, and he made untold amount of mistakes at Arsenal, and he probably shouldn't have been at Arsenal for the amount of time that he was on a professional standpoint. But he's a player. He's someone that pulled on the red and white shirt, and that when he was in there for those 90 minutes, I will support him and be wishing him to do the right thing and wishing him to turn things around, as always. I just really struggle with the concept of people abusing players. Oh, it's sad. It makes me really sad. It genuinely does make me sad when you see the abuse of players online. It's a real shame. Farah says, I hope Omar Rekic gets some game time next season. Is someone that's coming in. Maybe he can take a spot. Ed Welch says, happy with the lineup, strong. But we're not talking about the game. The game will be later. The game's happening later. We will focus on that. So Hill says, I still remember when he joined and he was good with Koscielny until he got that injury. Dubo says, I'm sure he will say something soon, but I think I can see how Mustafi feels after that interview when he was getting threats against him and his family. And this is what I mean. It's just ridiculous that people were sending threats to him. That you saw, and this is coming from another perspective, Manchester United, that Tuan Zabi was getting racially abused after defending quite poorly against Sheffield United, which let in the goal, which is worth criticism, but it's not worth racist abuse. It's ridiculous. Nothing is worth that. How people can just turn around and feel like they can throw insults anywhere. And Mustafi kind of does, in himself, embody a lot of the Arsenal negativity in similar ways to what Wenger did. He embodies a lot of the negativity amongst the Arsenal social side of things. And it's good for him that he's gone, as well as it is good, we feel, from a critical standpoint for Arsenal that he's moving on. He needs a different surrounding. He's needed it for a long, long time. And I hope that he gets treated a lot better by the Schalke fans as opposed to he did by the Arsenal fans. I really, really do. Omar says, I can't stand Mustafi as an Arsenal player, but abuse is disgraceful. Ed Welch says, on Mustafi, I'm glad he's out the door due to the high wages and mistakes. Arsenal's fault for signing him in the first place and not selling him earlier, but the abuse is unacceptable. Alex McCarthy says, just because a player just isn't cut out for that club or league, there's no need for the hatred. Matt says, considering the amount of work he'd done in and around Islington as well, he deserves a lot of respect, regardless of what you thought of him as a player. Javier says, Rekic Is he going to get the William Saliba treatment as well? All honesty, Rekic looks a bit humble and no drama, and a big personality was recommended by Per Mertesacker. Maybe he will be coming in and competing with Saliba for that spot. Az says, what a huge mistake to ever let Ramsey go. Yeah, and maybe if we'd have pressed forward, maybe if Raul was not the man at the top of the pile, maybe we would still have Ramsey at the club. We will never know, unfortunately. Juan says, I do not like abuse. I just complain here in the best Arsenal-related channel. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. Let's scroll up, see if there is any more. Matthew says he had too many mistakes, in truth, but scored a couple of good headers. One was against Spurs in a North London derby. But if you didn't have the manners to say goodbye, well, do one. There's nothing wrong with you saying, I'm glad to see the back of him. I'm glad that he's gone. That's not abusing him. It's just, I wouldn't say it. I don't think you should go out there and tweet him saying, thank God you're gone. See you later. It's a little bit sad. Say it to yourself. Say it within your WhatsApp groups or whatever. That's whatever. You do you. But I wouldn't be going on to the Arsenal tweet and tweeting saying, good riddance. See you later. It's just, come on, man. It's a little bit, it's just a little bit childish, really. Scrolling up a little bit more. Oh, we're right at the top now. Okay, let's scroll back down and see what you guys are saying. Dan says, I just can't say goodbye. Is that a play on words without the apostrophe because of your name? No, it's not. It's grammatically incorrect, and it's a play on a song, actually, from I want to say the 90s. Matt Thornton says, thanks for the memories, but it's time to say goodbye. Oh, yeah. Anyway, that kind of curtails the Mustafi chat. This is the Let's Talk Arsenal show, which means we are here to discuss lots of different topics, of course. And we always start off with kind of the in topic of the day. So if you've got a topic for the next 20 minutes, throw it into the chat and we will talk about it. We will discuss it. We'll pretty much cover almost anything that you want to see us talk about in the chat. So Omar says, for a second I thought Tom was leaving the channel. No. No, I can see why you think that, though. It's a little bit clickbaity, wasn't it, that title? I've just realized people might think, where's he going? He's gone. Henry Oakland says, lots of talk about maturity from a channel that used to home down. But he's not here anymore, is he? So he's not here anymore. So I feel like we've moved on from that. In fact, you won't see him on the channel and you won't see him anywhere in the past videos if you try and look either. It's all gone, mate. It's all gone. Matt Thornton says, oh, I've already done that one. Let's go to AZ Racer, who says, can we win Europa since we are out of the FA Cup? Short answer is yes, I think we can win it, but I'm just worried about that left-back slot that we didn't address yesterday on deadline day. Arsenal didn't decide to bring in a left-back, and Cedric is playing against Wolves, which I don't want to talk about again because it will be outdated very quickly. But I worry that if we have a couple of injuries, if, say, Bellerin gets injured, then you've got Maitland-Niles has gone as well. Arguably, you've got less left-backs than when we started with, which is a little bit strange considering how weak and sort of thin we were on the ground anyway. So I find that very strange. Of course we can, says James P. Are we likely to win it? Probably not, he says, which is great. But it is our way back into Champions League football, which is why I think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on the Europa League when really, it's a really viable way to get back into the competition. It really is. And I think that Arsenal, if they approach it seriously and don't rotate heavily against Benfica,ってis the easiest route, I feel, for us to get back in. And for that reason, we need to take it exceptional. I don't want to see like Matt Ryan playing in these games. I want to see Leno playing in all of the games. I just don't see why you would switch it up. There's no reason to. Absolutely no reason to. Ray, you won't have to worry about that, mate, so don't worry. Ifair says, Tom, how do you rate our chances in a one-off tie with Benfica? I don't know how good they are, but it makes me anxious. Well, why don't we have a look at Liga NOS, which is the Portuguese league, which I probably butchered the pronunciation of. Let's share the screen, and you can have a look at the Liga NOS table. Here we go. They are currently 4th, which I'm surprised about, actually. And their form isn't very good. Their last 5 games, they've won just 1, which isn't the greatest. I'm actually hoping to do an interview with one of their players in the next couple of months or so. So we'll see how that goes down. But they're not doing particularly well in regards to their title challenges. In fact, Sporting Lisbon, who I don't think have won the Portuguese league for quite a while. I'm just going to check that. I'm pretty sure, though, that they've not won it. I'm sure that that Porto and Benfica have dominated it over the last few seasons. Yeah, the last time they won it was in 2002. So, I mean, fair play for Sporting this season, who have had a lot of issues. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, there was a storming of the training ground, like we saw with Marseille the other day. Players got hurt. Players left the club because they didn't want to be there, and they basically ripped up their contracts. As far as I think, from memory, if I'm doing that right, Bas Dost eventually left. There are other players that left. Bruno Fernandes left, and yet they're doing really well this season, and absolutely not running away with the title, but they're putting good daylight between themselves and everyone else. While Benfica aren't. I don't know if they've sacked their manager yet, Jorge Jesus, who of course is the former Sporting Lisbon manager, City rivals, and previously to that was in charge of Benfica again. I think this is his second stint in charge. He is ill, I believe, at the moment, actually, of a respiratory infection. So hopefully, best wishes to him. Hope he gets well again. But yeah, they're not in terms of like a one-off game. I would still be confident of saying that we could win against them. Across 2 legs, I'm more confident. And it's interesting to see sort of how the game actually plays out in regards to the location, because we're not sure whether or not we're going to see Benfica play in their home stadium in Lisbon because the travel restrictions. So fingers crossed it sorts itself out, and we won't have to worry about that. It's a one-off match. Then the Man City match will be between 2 legs. If it's not, I don't think it's going to be a one-off match, though. Is it? I'm sure they would do it over 2 legs but one of the ground, like their home leg would be in a neutral stadium. And I think that they can do our leg in the UK, but that doesn't make much sense, does it? I'm not sure. Maybe someone in the chat box knows, but I've not seen where like the latest news about what's going on between them at all. So I'm not sure how it's going to work. Sahil says, Tom, thoughts on potentially facing Benfica for a single knockout game again? I genuinely don't know. I thought that both, it would either have to be one knockout or 2 legs at neutral venues, like in Europe somewhere where both teams can travel to. But because of the barrier between traveling from Portugal to England, obviously it can't happen. And you can't travel from Portugal to another country and then from another country. And I don't know if you can do it that way. If you've come through, you still have to do all your tests and everything. But if they're both going to be, I mean, Matt says there, looks like both legs will be at neutral venues. If that's the case, I think that will suit Arsenal better because our home form's been pretty terrible. So I actually think it would help us more than it would them. I think they would certainly be a little bit gutted, probably, not to get to play in their home ground against us. And they will probably push for that to happen, but I don't think that will happen. So, yeah, that's that. Let's scroll up to see if there's any other talking points for the last 10 minutes or so. All questions about Benfica at the moment. If you've got any other topics to throw into the chat box, please do, and we will discuss it. Let's scroll down again. They should call in Dana White to do the matches as Fight Island and call it football. I mean, that would be a spectacle. That really would be a spectacle, Hovik, to be fair. If you had like UFC or boxing promoters promoting football fixtures, you could get like the captains to square up and do a weigh-off. I mean, if our captains aren't the best, so I can't imagine too many of them would be that intimidating. Who is our captain at the moment? It's Aubameyang. I can't imagine Aubameyang being too intimidating, especially if it was someone like Hector Bellerin. Can you imagine Hector Bellerin doing a weigh-in? It'd be a little bit strange. Tom says, I remember when the crazy singing Victoria fans Obviously, a Portuguese teams without its fans in the stadium will hit them harder than us. I mean, yeah, naturally, other European clubs have amazing support. Not even European, beyond that, just in general, like across the world, lots of foreign teams have amazing support. The noise they make, the atmosphere they build, it's absolutely huge. Marco says, will Erdegaard be given more than 10 mins tonight? We all know Willian will probably get at least 30. I hope so. I hope he gets a little bit more. I wouldn't be expecting too much more because, as I said last time, he's barely played any football recently. He's barely played any football over the last 6 months or so. So you gradually build him up. You don't just throw him in to start. You gradually build him up. I'm interested to see the Wolves lineup, which I'm not going to talk about because I said I wasn't going to talk about the Wolves game, and I just did. So, you know. Peter Renner says, thoughts on Arsenal still going into a summer with players going into the last year of their contracts? Peter, my honest opinion is that there is going to be a lag time with this. There are some players that are just going to run down their deals, unfortunately, the ones that have got 1 year left. I think it's kind of that lag time that you've got. We're seeing players get signed up to new contracts. You look at Martinelli, you look at Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe's in negotiations at the moment. Rob Holding got a new contract. There are things that are changing that are getting better. But the likes of Lacazette and Nketiah, Balogun, who of course deal runs out at the end of this season, I think you're going to see a lag time, unfortunately, between those players that do run out with their deals, that do run down their contracts. But with other players, like we've seen with Holding, Saka, Martinelli, we'll start to see deals. And Aubameyang as well, to be fair, get those deals signed up much sooner. So I'm not too kind of worried about that. I'm not too concerned about that. So I don't think you should be either. It's a process. As we always say, trust the process. It's a process that we're going to have to wait for the impacts of that to happen. Javier says Lacazette is a goner, which is interesting. I would personally, if the opportunity came up, move him on. I wouldn't sign him up to a new deal. I think that Arsenal need to target kind of a early to mid-20s top-class striker that will be our striker for the next 5 to 8 seasons. That's what Arsenal need to do, is that they need to be targeting a striker that's of that age, that is consistent, that will work and transition to the Premier League. I mean, in a dream world, his form's dipped recently, but like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I just like to see Arsenal bring in some Premier League proven talent. That's all I want us to see. And I feel like he would get opportunities at Arsenal. I think he's really good in the air, and we also lack kind of a striker that's good at that. So I 100% would be looking at a striker of DCL's of quality, for sure. There are other players around the Premier League that you could look at maybe. But yeah, Dominic Calvert-Lewin kind of comes to mind. People kind of turn their nose up at players sometimes just because they play for another Premier League club, which they shouldn't do, because it's naive and it's arrogant, I think, to just turn your nose up at Premier League. If someone said that Danny Ings was coming in and replacing Lacazette, it would be a little bit strange, but it wouldn't bother me too much because he's Premier League proven. He scores goals, but obviously it wouldn't make too much sense in terms of the age profile of the player, whereas someone of the age profile of Dominic Calvert-Lewin would be much more attractive to look at. Raul Jimenez, of course, who is currently out with his head injury, and we wish him the best in coming back from that. I'm just going to check how old Jimenez is. I think I'm sure he's mid-20s. Raul Jimenez. He is, let's look. Oh, he's 29. Jesus. I thought he was so much younger than that. Wow, he's older than I thought. I don't know. That's mental. I was sure he was still coming through like young at Atletico Madrid. Jesus Christ. I feel so old all of a sudden. Patrick Bamford, says Farah B. The thing about Patrick Bamford is I feel like I need a little bit more evidence from him. Just a little bit more evidence. I don't know what it is. It's just something about Patrick Bamford I'm not as sure about. But I wish we'd have got Jamie Vardy in when we obviously put that bid in, because we would have got, I think that was before Lacazette. I'm pretty sure it was. And we would have got a fair few good seasons from Vardy at the top of his game. And that was a real big miss, I felt, not getting Vardy in. And I say it's a big miss. He decided to stay at Leicester. He had the option to come to Arsenal and he turned it down. So yeah, sorry about that. let's have a look what you guys are saying. Matt Beaumont says, hey, man, I have a barber who can hook you up. I genuinely, Matt, I need one. This is ridiculous. I haven't got... I'm not the type of guy that can just go a number 2 all over it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So at the moment, I'm either just wearing hats or letting it grow ridiculously long. And I might break my rule of wearing a hat on Hugh's show tonight. But this is getting out of control at the moment. I'm getting very Elvis Presley. It's so poofy is the word I used to describe it the other day. It's just, it's very, it's the bouffon that I've got right now is, ridiculous. Thank you, David. Absolute legend. No flying horses this evening. There's no John on tonight. So nothing about that. Nothing about that at all. Michael Velasquez says, what is the title about? I've really confused everyone with this title. I was only talking about Mustafi not saying goodbye. That was what I was doing. But I've completely thrown people a complete sideways one with that title. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to do that at all. Una says, at least you've got a good hairline. I mean, it's not the best. It's pretty, it's not the best, to be honest. That's why I try and keep my head at level height so you don't see it when I do that. It's not the best. My dad's barely got any hair, so I'm going to get there one day. But, I'm just secure with how I look, unfortunately. Get a mullet, says now. You should see pictures of me when I was at school. It was ridiculous. And my nickname amongst friends at school was not a pleasant one, it's fair to say. Henry says, what do you think happened to the AFC bell? It reminds me of Gazidis' infinite line at the start of the Emery era of those that know don't speak and those that don't know speak the opposite. Something like to that effect. What do I think about the AFC Bell's disappearance? I don't know anything, is the honest answer. I don't know anything of the ins and outs of what's happened. I've heard things from different people, but it's things that I'm not 100% sure, and I'm not going to speculate on as to why he's not here. It's not my place to say why he or she, obviously we don't know who it is, that's doing it and that has now decided to give up on it. But they're gone. It's a shame. I quite liked the coverage. I thought it was good. I doubted it 100% in the first place. They made me eat my words. Fair play to them, and they got things spot on, and they clearly knew their stuff. But they're gone now, and we will have to find another inanimate or animate object to come to the fore with Arsenal news. Someone will fill the place. Once they move on, someone will take that place. That is just how the world works. It's just what happens. It's why crime exists. Get rid of one crime group, another one takes its place. That is just what happens, unfortunately. But in this case, hopefully it'll be more fortunate, and someone will take the place that is legitimate and has the right bits of information. We will very much see. But it's a weird game, the old ITK game, and it's why I don't do it. It's why I don't tweet out little bits of information. Sometimes I share things that are here with you on here, but you won't see me going onto Twitter and going, this so-and-so is moving to here. I guarantee it. All this. No, you're not going to see it from me. It's just not really what I want to do, to be honest, unless you're a verified journalist and you get information legitimately or, however any other way, and you put it up online. Not in for it at all whatsoever. But it is weird that Mustafi leaves and the bell ceases to exist. As Divian says there, how likely was Mustafi the bell? I very much doubt he'd be too much inclined to help the Arsenal social side of things, to be honest. To be sure, is what I would say on that. Anyway, that's going to finish off our very short Let's Talk Arsenal show. Sorry that it was shorter than usual. I still wanted to maintain the 5 o'clock shows on a Tuesday and a Friday. We are playing in half an hour. Obviously, if you are watching this back after the game, you will know the result. That's why I'm not talking about it. I will be joining Hugh for the watch-along. So make sure you join me and Hugh. You'll see me in about 15 minutes or so, I'm sure. And then we'll be back here straight after the game has finished to react, to get your thoughts in our live chat. As always, make sure you check out the link in the description, which will take you to the competition for this week, which is a signed double winning Arsenal 1971 shirt from the League and FA Cup, and it is signed by 9 of the FA Cup winning squad, including the likes of Bob Wilson, Charlie George, etc. So if you'd like to give him a shot of winning that, buy a ticket, and the will be revealed on Friday who has won. I will see you straight after the game. If not, and you for some reason obsessed and want to see me before that, I'll be joining Hugh for the watch along too. I'll see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.